Good evening, friends and family, and thank you for coming to another night with Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities Behind Black Business. And tonight, we have a special topic, and that is Kwanzaa. We're in this holiday season. Everybody's out here spending a lot of money um, and engaging in a lot of activities. Uh, People working really hard, trying to meet deadlines. Some people this is not a good time of the year for them, and so this is a busy time and it's an interesting time, and we want to talk about Kwanzaa tonight because Kwanzaa is something that is very relevant to our community. And so, ask Doris to come on tonight. And Doris, thank you for coming on tonight.
Denise, my illustrious goddaughter. Dear, good evening.
There would be no Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities without Doris. Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. And you know, our mission when we started this organization is to focus on the businesses in our community and our lack of support of our businesses in our communities. And so we have done a lot of things to try and enhance the awareness and support of businesses in our community. We've had many businesses on this podcast. We support our bookstores because that's where our knowledge base is, and our bookstores. Our bookstores are doing a yeoman job right now because we have a resurgence of Black bookstores, and we've got some Black bookstores in our communities that are really rocking it out here. Namely, the Underground and Brother Yoel, that's still hanging in there. He has not given up. And Brother Say Cool for Frontline is still there, working very hard and providing those books to you online. And then there's Afriware Books, who is our bookstore of the month, Sister Nzinga. These are three people who have been out here for a long time. And Sister Nzinga, being our bookstore of the month, she selected our book of the month, which is Asada Shakur by Asada Shakur. And we have a winner for that book of the month. As you know, we give a book away every month. We pay for the book, we pay for the shipping. That's how important reading is. And so I will be announcing our winner of the month before this episode is over. But tonight, we want to address Kwanzaa and why Kwanzaa is so important. We have a lot of people that are still practicing Kwanzaa. They're still celebrating Kwanzaa. And then some people have kind of fallen off by the wayside. And some people out here, believe it or not, have no idea what Kwanzaa is. And I was doing some reading about Dr. Maulana Karenga, and Doris, you chime in at any point, but this was back in the 60s, in 65, where the on the UCLA campus, they were having Watts riots, and a lot of the black organizations were fighting each other. You know, you had the Panthers who wanted to be more defensive, and and then you had those people that wanted to be more peaceful. And that was kind of what was going on also with Martin Luther King at the time in terms of his nonviolence movement. And Dr. Karinga felt like we needed some kind of cultural solidarity,
Mm-hmm.
and that was necessary for us to have that, because as we get out here and you're fighting, if you don't have a vision and a focus in terms of where you're going, where you're trying to be, and if you're not on the same page with that, then it's real easy for people to the people to become fragmented, for people to get burnt out and give up. And that's one of the reasons that he started Kwanzaa.
And you know what, Denise? I mean, these are some exciting times, even though they're frustrating times. But whenever I talk, I always talk about history. 1965, the 60s, man, it was so revolutionary. And I'm so thankful that I was a part of that movement, because it was during a time when, as you said, we had these different factions. One wanted to go in this direction, one wanted to go in another direction. And all of it was good. It was good, even though you may different ideology and philosophy, people disagree, but it was good. And the beauty of that time, that era, like all eras, is that you have a blueprint. People do not understand. I cannot stress enough how important it is to understand history, because it's a blueprint. It will help you to not make the same mistakes going forward. If you don't know where you came from, how are you going to know where you're going? So it's so important for us to know history. And when I talk to young people, I stress this. We must teach the young. We must teach the young. We must go back and get them and bring them on up to today and teach them this history. Because if you don't, they will be lost, like so many of our young people are today. And we want to criticize them. We want to condemn them. They're nothing. But how did they get that way? They didn't get that way by themselves. So we can stop beating up on our young people, because wherever they are today, they did not get there by themselves, whether they're successful or not. They did not do it by themselves. So it is our responsibility to reach back and to teach the young and to stress the importance to them of knowing this history.
And Doris, also, we get into these conversations a lot of times where, even on the flip side of that, where we talk about old school and new school, in a derogatory manner, and understanding, if you have some issues with where we are today and you want to look at the older generation and the things that we did and what we didn't do, what happened, what didn't happen, uh, all of that played into how we got to where we are
Absolutely,
today. It's
absolutely.
not a finger pointing
No, no.
issue. It's not about pointing the fingers to the older people, or making this just a generational thing. It's looking at what all of the steps, all of the little intricacies that occurred that brought us to where we are today, and understanding what that is. Then you got a clearer view of why we're dealing with what we're dealing with today.
Well, I am fortunate by the Creator to be an elder myself today. I'm going on 82 years old, but I learned from the elders. I
Mhm.
learned from my grandmother, my great grandmother. I learned from those elders in the community. So, but this is what this system of racism and white supremacy has done. It is purposely caused us to become divided, the old against the young against the old. That I know many people may have heard of that Willie Lynch letter. It was by design. So we have to make sure we don't keep this going. We've got to reach out and respect our young as they are to respect us. And for the, and again, I can say I'm fortunate. I really have not had any run-ins with young people, because
Mhm.
I love our people, our people, and I understand that the young is the future. It's not about me anymore. It's about the future. So, what kind of future are we going to have? What did we do to prepare these young people to carry on, to protect what our ancestors worked for during slavery, coming out of slavery, Reconstruction, and all of those periods? What are we doing to teach them to protect what we have fought for? We made America what it is today. America would not be anything if it were not for the descendants of enslaved people and generations after that. So it's so important that we connect. The young and the old must connect. We can't fall into this nonsense. Yeah, there were elderly people who did not do what they should have done. There are elderly people today who are not doing what they should be doing. But there are elderly people who are doing positive, good things. So we can't fall into that nonsense.
And I think during this time is another reason why he brought this as a cultural
Mm-hmm.
experience,
Mm-hmm.
as a time
Yeah.
to learn, to reflect back on our culture and many of the African traditions in terms of the family structure of how we did things,
Mm-hmm.
what was important, what was not important, how we treated one another, and understanding the wisdom and the knowledge that you will gain from the elders, because the elders have a
No.
part to play in terms of the decisions that we're making about what's going to happen today.
Yeah,
You
I
would
think
you will consult
right.
with the elders. That was a part of the culture,
Yeah.
which is not so much as we would like to see it today.
It's a natural transition. I didn't know at 16 what I know today. That's just an automatic transition from one generation to another, to the next. And you learn along the way. And how do you learn? You learn from your elders. You learn from your elders telling you to read, to study. All of that plays into what kind of people, what kind of individual you become.
And then when you talked about how they talked about how important it was to read and to study, that was one thing that kind of rang in with me and continues to this day. My grandfather, who always emphasized how education was so important, because there was a direct connection between your education
Yeah.
and what you were going to be able to do in life, and how we were going to be able to elevate ourselves as a people. And when you compare us to many of the immigrants that come over here to
Absolutely.
this country today, that's where they are. They have
Yep.
left their country,
To come
they
here.
have come here, they're getting that education, and they're elevating themselves economically, but they also are holding on to their culture and their ways of life. And but they see that direct connection between education and elevation.
And you know what stuck with me and is still with me today, and that's the economic part with my grandma from my grandmother. My grandmother would always say, "Save you some money if it's only 50 cents." And my grandparents were sharecroppers until they were able to buy their own land. And then they become farmers, and they cultivated their own crop, cotton. Cotton was king in the South. So that stuck with me. That's why investing is so interesting to me today, because I was told that as a young person. And my mother was a restaurant owner. So I come from a lineage of business people, people who own land, own property. And I got that from the elders. I got that from my grandmother and my granddad. So
And
it's so,
see, if you look at it today, I was talking to someone, I believe it was this morning, And they were like, well, we were talking about how they use the immigrants when they come here. They have them working in the fields. They're picking the strawberries and the blueberries, and I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to do that. And not having a sense of appreciation for how important that work is, because that food has been planted, and that food has to be stored and then transported to a store where you can just conveniently walk in there with your dollars, or whatever means you have to purchase those food items. But having an appreciation and a respect for those people who would have to plant the food and grow the food, and understanding that if you own land and this is what you're doing, okay, this is a part of what you're doing, this is something important. This
And
is
more,
something that can be very not only important for you, for the community in terms of its sustenance, but for you as a business person who owns this land,
yeah.
who's growing this food, how important you are to the society,
And
as
more
opposed to
important, yeah.
looking at it as some low life did work.
But more importantly, here again, this is where history comes in.
Mhm.
This is what our ancestors did. Everything that they're talking about the immigrants are doing today, we did it.
That's right.
We did it. But what are they trying to do? They're trying to write us out of history. No, our ancestors did this. We were enslaved in this country for 300 years. We did pick the beans, we picked the cotton, we planted the peanut. Everything that they say these immigrants are doing today, we did it. So we must not allow this system to try to write us out of history and say immigrants built America. Oh,
Right.
absolutely not.
That's right.
Black Americans built America. It is what it is today because of Black men and women and children.
That's right.
So we cannot allow them to, because they're pushing this narrative. They're pushing this narrative hard, and we have to push back. Now, this is where I get a little upset. Not a little, but I get upset with our historians, our people who know this history, who are still with us today at these universities. They're not saying anything. So those of us who know what we know, we must pass it on. We must push that narrative. We must push against the narrative that the immigrants, Mandani, built this country. No, you did not. Black Americans built this country.
That's right. And it wasn't just uh, in the cotton fields.
No,
From that time prior to on up to now, we have made so many contributions,
absolutely.
so many contributions. Many of our contributions have gotten eaten up, by these corporate conglomerates who come along and they like what you're doing. They see you making money. They come and they buy you out.
Mm-hmm.
They push you out. They rename,
Mm-hmm.
and no one knows that this is something that you created, that you started. But this is what happens to Black Americans in this country.
You know,
This is what happens.
even today in the Carolinas, North Carolina, South Carolina, you come on down that eastern seaboard, which is the route of the transatlantic slave trade. Even today, as we speak, Black people who were on those seashores, because that's what they put us near the water when they first brought us here, because they didn't look at the water as being as significant as it is today. Now they don't want us any place near the water. But these people who did the crab, the shrimp, who did that kind of work, who do that kind of work, right today, they cannot get the jobs because they have the immigrants in there who have taken the jobs away from these Black Americans, and they are living in abject poverty. So when they say taking Black jobs, that's a reality across the board. Black jobs are being just dismissed and taken away from us as a result of these immigrants coming into the country, because they're paying them lower wages. They're doing all kinds of things to keep these people here, exploiting them and exploiting us at the same time. So in that fishing industry in South Carolina, the eastern seaboard states, again, our people can't get the jobs because they brought the immigrants in here, and they are putting our people out of work. And as a result, it's abject poverty going on as we speak. So we must understand what this immigration is doing. I hate to think where we will be 10 years from now, because see, we are not studying, we're not reading, we're not understanding the impact of immigration on the Black community specifically. I mean, it's impacting everybody, but us mostly. And so we have got to push back on that. We've got to start studying it, and looking at what is going on in this country, because otherwise, you know what, we 10 years from now, I am scared to think of where we can be, where we will be, and what kind of future our young people will not have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I guess we need to get into
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, Kwanzaa starts December the 26th, which is the day after Christmas, and it goes for 7 days through January 1st. And each day there is a principle that is discussed and that's put on the table, some very important principles that do not end on January the 1st. These are principles that we can carry on all through the year, 365 days a year, and continuing on and on. If we would adopt these principles and work with our children to adopt these principles, I think Kwanzaa is not celebrated and discussed enough in our schools. Even some of our predominantly Black schools, people seem to shy away from celebrating Kwanzaa. Why do you think that is?
They don't want us to know about it. They don't want us to practice these principles, because if we were to really practice these principles, we would be much better off and farther along. Because over time, we've lost some of them, because we've gotten away from them. You know, we're taking on everybody else's culture without realizing how rich this Black culture is, and how others have adopted our culture, how others have gained from our culture. So that's why it's so important. Like you said, it just doesn't happen for 7 days. These are principles that we should be practicing every single day, because they will help to sustain us. This is what helps to sustain you.
And I think it's also a reflection of all of the compromising that has occurred over the years with our religious organizations, with our other, nonprofit organizations out here. They have compromised us to a point where, as you recall, when we started this organization and we talked about going to some of the other larger organizations to talk to them about what we were trying to do, and we were told to not go in there talking about that Black stuff. And I was like, what else are we going to talk about?
What else do you talk about?
So we obviously have this kind of attitude and actions behind it that have resulted in avoiding the conversations that need to be had in terms of trying to address the issues that need to be addressed. Don't talk about that Black stuff.
And when you make that kind of statement, and when you allow people to push you to that point, Whether you realize it or not, you are giving up all your power. You're giving up your power.
Mhm.
Don't talk about that black stuff. I guess that's what we're doing today. Don't talk about the black stuff, but you can talk about the immigrant stuff. You can
Mhm.
talk about the African immigrant. You can talk about the Mexican, the Venezuelan, the Ukrainian, the Irish. You can talk about all this other people's stuff, but you're not supposed to talk about your stuff. Now, what
Mhm.
kind of sense does that make?
That's right.
And you should stop and think, well, if I can talk about everybody else's stuff and I can't talk about my black stuff, it must be some power to this black stuff.
That's right.
You know, you got to analyze things when people tell you not to do this and not to do that, and everybody else is doing it and benefiting from it. That should make you realize, oh no, I better hold on to my stuff, my black stuff, because it's
Can
power.
you imagine the Hispanics having a conversation or gathering around resources that they need or they want for their community, making sure their children are speaking their language and coming into the conversation and saying, but don't go in there talking that Hispanic stuff.
And you know what, Denise? That and that explains the first principle of Umoja,
That's right.
unity. It's unity. When the Hispanics get in a room or wherever they are, Mexicans, Venezuelan, wherever they're from, when the Irish, when the Italian, when the Jews, when they get in these rooms and talk about their stuff, that's unity. And that's only natural. It's natural. But they want us to do unnatural things that is destructive to us. Unity, umoja, the first principle of Kwanzaa. That is nothing but unity. These people are unified.
Mm-hmm.
And they tell us not to unify. When you say don't talk about that black stuff, you're telling black people don't unify.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else can. Everybody else is encouraged to do it. Everybody else is so great when they do it. But when we do it, there's something wrong with it.
Something wrong.
Right? So
So, as you said earlier, there must be something to it.
yeah. hmm you gotta analyze these statements that people make. And then
And
what's the
so
next
with okay, so with unity, what are some of the things that you think we could begin to do to unify more? I would
one?
say one thing that I noticed this year for Kwanzaa, the Malcolm X, the I remember the president of Malcolm X College said that he was going to be working towards having Kwanzaa there every day. And so he had Kwanzaa last year, and then there's a young group called Shy Chicago, and they had a Kwanzaa event at the Conrad World Center, which was really nice. But this year, I understand they're coming together.
Mhm.
They're working together to have Kwanzaa at Malcolm X
Mhm.
facility.
Mhm.
And so those are the kind of things that I look for, where I see people willing to come together, to work together to make things happen. Everybody, you don't have to be out here by yourself. You don't have to be the only your one business out here by yourself. You go if you go on the north side to a store, they'll tell you we're connected with three other stores. They'll name three other stores. We're a consortium, three different names, four different names, but they are connected.
Mhm.
And this is how we get community benefits
Right.
agreements.
Right.
When the businesses come together with the community and the community has agreed to purchase and support from this establishment. And in return, the establishment is now able to maybe give some better prices, lower the prices, make some special offers, as well as provide some of the resources or the profits giving some of it back.
And because of that lack of unity, we don't get we don't get that community benefit agreement because of that lack of unity in the Black community. And so as a result, our communities suffer.
That's
And,
right.
and instead of the Black businesses connecting,
Hmm.
and that was the whole one of the purposes of us forming this organization, to try to
Hmm.
connect the different businesses. You know, you can't any one business do it all by himself or herself. They have to connect, and as you just said, that is what they do in other communities. So because they are they're unified, they can get a community benefit agreement because they are connected. And that is one thing that we need to work on. With that, what Black businesses need to work on. You know, it's
And
not,
if you
it's not
go back historically and look, as
Mhm.
I always remember, the one out of the past records that was on our one of our early shows.
Mhm.
They have been on the West Side for like 60 years.
Yep.
And she had multiple establishments, but she talked about how if it was something that she didn't have, she knew how to reach out to maybe one of the other record shops, and she had no problems doing that,
Mhm.
you know. And that was no loss to her. It's just that she didn't have the stock, but obviously they had a connection. And so for me to send you to this other business, I'm not going to lose business by
And
sending you there. I'm going to help this customer.
you know, that under under segregation, that was one of the strongest benefits. You know, Black businesses connected to each other. If
Mhm.
one store didn't have it, you could tell someone to go to somebody else's store. You know, if we have we call them filling stations back then. If one filling station couldn't repair your car, they knew of someone else, another filling station that you could go to that could. That was unity in the community. That was under segregation. It worked. It worked. I am a product of that era and that environment. I know it worked, and it can work again. We have got to unify as a people,
You know,
collectively.
Doris, I think maybe some of what happened is with all of that compromising that was going on.
Mhm.
I think we lost
We
trust.
we did, we
We
did.
lost trust in
Hmm.
one another, because that's what you have, a sense of trust and a sense of respect for what the other person is doing, um, and that they've got your back, they've got your best interest at heart. We're in this together. But I think with all that compromising that went on, um,
It created division.
that's
It
right.
created division. All that compromising created division.
That's
So
right.
let's move on to
So
the
let's
next.
go on to, uh, we have six more principles to cover. And so the next one would be Kuji Chagulia, which is self determination.
Self-determination.
Self determination. So, what does that mean to you?
Self-determination means that we have to decide and determine what is best for us as a people across the board: education, financially, politically, across everything that affects us in our everyday life. We must decide, we must determine what is best for us. And I think post integration, we have allowed others to tell us what is best for us.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the most serious mistakes that we have made as a people. Because can anyone come into our community and tell us what is good for us? Can anyone come into my house and tell me what I need in my house? It makes no sense. So we must decide what is best for us as a people, what is best for our family, what is best for our children, what is best for the community, what is best for us collectively as a people if we are to survive in this country. Because we have There are all kinds of obstacles that are being thrown in our way every day. So that question of self-determination must be discussed. What kind of future do you want for your children? What kind of marriage do you want to have? What do you want in your community? What is best for your community? What is not good for your community? Because all kinds of things have been thrown into our communities. Let's just take the drug epidemic. When they put all these drugs in our communities, they knew what they were doing.
Mhm.
That was not self-determination. Somebody else determined what they were going to put in our communities, and they knew what the result would be. Disastrous. So we have to decide what is best
And
for.
I think one example, one good example of that is, there's this myth that, well, Kwanzaa is not so popular as it was, as it used to be. Well, who decided that?
Yeah, who decided?
Who made that decision? What did you look at or pay attention to that made that decision for you? Was it the fact that other people or the white corporations are not making a big issue about it today with the Kwanzaa paraphernalia? If I want to get Kwanzaa cards, you didn't necessarily see them in some of the major stores. You didn't see the artifacts that we go in terms of that we use to participate in Kwanzaa. You don't see them in the major stores. So since you don't see them in the major stores, like you do Christmas trees and Christmas tree ornaments and so on and so forth, it's not so important. It's not so popular. So here you are letting these people determine to you what is important here, and that Kwanzaa is not so important. Since they're not making a big thing out of it, it must not be important.
But you know what, Denise? Okay, aside from Kwanzaa, self-determination. You still need to determine what kind of life you're going to live, what kind of community you're going to live in, a safe and clean community, or one that's in total chaos. Aside from Kwanzaa, here these are just principles, and we're talking about the
But it's one of our, it's a part of our
yeah,
culture.
yeah.
It's
But
a part of our culture that we have deemed. I mean, and I'm just giving that as an example. It's part of our culture that we have deemed as important. And I don't get to tell somebody that Hanukkah is no longer important,
but I
or nobody's really talking about that uh, in the media. So that's not really important. You're not going to tell those people who celebrate that that's not important,
yeah,
because that is a part of their culture.
yeah.
And so everything becomes uh, up for grabs, no
I,
matter what
I
it is.
I
What,
brought that.
what you determine you want to be in life, what kind of car you want to drive, what kind of house you want, what kind of a woman or husband you should want to marry, what they should look like, what size they should be. I mean, all of these things we're being impacted by
Yeah,
with the major media and programming to tell us that this is what's important. This is what you should aspire towards having and wanting to do.
yeah,
This is how you should talk.
yeah.
This is how you should walk.
These are our principles. These are our principles. And I brought that up just in case if someone is watching and that thought may come to mind. Well, Kwanzaa is dead. I don't care if you think it's dead or not. You still have to determine what you want your life, your family to be. That is self-determination. You decide on that. Mr. Karinga came up with these principles, and he gave each one a meaning. They're our principles. We adopted those principles. We must hold on to our principles, those principles. We've gotten away from it. So whether, white America wants to, or anyone for that matter, wants to say, well, Kwanzaa is dead. No, Kwanzaa is not dead because self-determination goes on. But we adopted these principles, these 7 principles, and these 7 principles guide our lives every day. So that's why.
And there's a correlation between them, as the first one is umoja, which is unity. And when you're talking about unity, self-determination is going to be important.
Absolutely.
It's going to be important for us to be unified. So the next one is ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. Now that's a big one.
Yes,
we talk about kind of what our organization has been pushing, collective work and responsibility. That we have a sense of responsibility to work together, to support one another, and to understand what the ramifications of that is.
Yeah.
You know, I spoke to one of our business owners the other day, and I asked them how they were doing, and they said, well, we're doing okay. We know a lot of people are out here spending money, but they're not spending it over here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. There's no sense of responsibility that I need to spend some of my money over here.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is my community. These are my people. There's a benefit to me in doing this. And we're not thinking in that manner. We want to spend our money everywhere else, but with our own people.
And collective work can just be any phase of our lives, educationally, economically, politically, socially. It can be any phase. And I'll just use as an example of what's going on in Chicago in the political scene. Collective work. When I look at Chicago Flips Red, when I look at Zoe, when I look at what Danny, when I look at what Jessica, what they're doing, that is collective work. Fighting this system and saying to this system, you will not take Black people's property without us exposing you. You will not raise these high taxes without us exposing you. That's collective work. And there are others down there. I've been a part of it. So that's collective work. So, as I said, it can be across the board. That's collective work, however small, however large, as long as we're coming together in unity, again, as a people fighting against the odds, fighting against the system that is totally against us, fighting against people coming in here and this government, the city council voting for millions and millions of dollars that has caused us to have $1 billion budget and a deficit, and it's going to be more. That's collective work. So, and it's incumbent, it's our responsibility. It is our responsibility to push against these things. We cannot just sit back and not do anything. That is our collective work and responsibility. So these words have meaning, and we need
and that comes to also the discussion about many of our politicians. When we look here in Illinois and in Chicago, and we look at all of the Black state reps we have.
Absolutely.
We look at all the Black people that we have voted for to put in office. And then they have caucuses within these institutions that they're involved in. And how are they coming together collectively?
Right.
Where is their sense of responsibility to our communities? Raising the taxes, fining and feeing people, making it difficult for people to keep their businesses open, making it difficult for people to keep in their homes. Where's your sense of responsibility to the people?
And this is where Black leadership has failed us, is failing us. We have over 5,000 elected Black politicians in this country. And if you go to these cities that are called sanctuary cities, it looks like a bomb has been dropped in many of the areas. So we got all of these politicians. So what are they do? What are we getting from it? What are we getting from them? And now you have immigrants who look like us, who have a skin color like us, and we're voting for them because of the skin color instead of looking into their backgrounds and asking yourself, is this person going to work for me? Or giving, more importantly, giving everybody an agenda. That is collective, that's our responsibility, and we're falling down. We're failing in that category, and so
Absolutely.
we're gonna have to educate our young people. We're gonna have to do something about that. Is our collective responsibility to stop putting people in office because they look like us. And I can
Right.
understand how we get where we are, but we've got to change that paradigm.
Well, our next principle is Ujima, which is cooperative economics.
Oh my Lord. Oh my God.
So this comes back to repair, restore, and grow Black communities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our mission, enhancing the awareness and support of our people to support our businesses, and our businesses have a responsibility to work together, and our businesses have a responsibility to give back as well.
Yeah. And then we're going on 4 years now, right?
Yes.
We started this organization. It was during COVID because we realized that Black businesses were going to suffer the most as a result of COVID. And over 40%, if not more, Black business went under during COVID. And that's why we decided we would form this organization so that we could bring the Black businesses that are still left, come on this show, talk about your business, and try to connect Black businesses to each other. And we got started. We were we got started from donations from friends and family members. I think we raised about $7,000, and that's how we got started. And we've been going ever since. And we financed this ourselves. Denise, myself, and our brother
Harvey.
Harvey, 3 board members. And we love it this way because we were going to bring on other people, and we soon found out that these people had a personal agenda. And our agenda is for Black people and helping Black businesses. So each month we donate a certain amount of money, and we've been going strong ever since. Because when we tried, as Denise mentioned earlier, when we tried to get some money, people told us, don't talk about that Black stuff. They wanted to change the wording, in our mission and purpose. We said, to hell with you. We will finance it ourselves. So it can be done.
That's right.
If you are committed, if you love your people and you want to help your people, you have. It's about committing, making a commitment. How much do you love your people? What kind of future do we want for our young people? I'm doing this for the young people, not me, not Denise, and not Harvey. We're doing it for the future of our children, and we've been going strong.
And see, this leads us to our next principle, which is purpose.
Oh, Denise, let's go back to did we no, I'm sorry. No, that's the next one. Let's go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. That's the next one.
Okay, which is purpose. And this is where the blueprint comes in.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the common vision comes in.
Mm-hmm.
This is where why are we doing this? What is it that we want? I think about the conversation around reparations, and a lot of Black people want reparations. There was a point where many Black people felt like, oh, we're not going to get reparations. That's a mute question. Well, somewhere along the line, when I guess some people, and I'm going to say up in Evanston, started to say, we gonna give some localized reparations. We're gonna give a few dollars here or there. I think here again, allowing other people to make that self-determination uh, um, factor something that's coming from somebody else, as opposed to you putting that their stamp on it, their stamp of approval on it. How, and it was a weak stamp of approval.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It really was. Because the money, there was questioning about how the money was given and how the money was spent. But then understanding what reparations is, there was questioning around all of that. But what is our goal? What is it that we want? When we say we want freedom, when we say we want reparations, to do what?
Mm-hmm. And you know what? As a result of the way it was set up in Evanston, and it was not lineage based, just recently, if not last week, the week before last, a white man and a Hispanic got reparations. The white man is married to a black woman. The Hispanic came from a mixed family, but they did not define it in such a way that it should have been only for the descendants of enslaved Africans. So you and Westmore up there in Maryland, they just overrode his veto because he wanted to study it. And there are some, we've been saying, well, we don't need another study, but it was much deeper than him not wanting to study reparation, because there was some other language in there that he was bringing in, and they were opposed to that language, and that language, it was going in the direction that others could benefit from it too. That's why they overrode his veto. And he is an immigrant. An immigrant is in no position in America to determine what Black people should get when it comes to reparation. No immigrant. And if you're not a conscious Black man or woman, you're not in a position either. So we have to be very careful when we go down that road, because that racism is going to come in there, because they don't want us to have it anyway. So we're going to have to be very, very careful. And you look at what the people are doing out there in California, they're doing a great job. So we have to look at people who have put in the work and follow their lead.
And I think when it comes to purpose, I think our purpose, what we're constantly fighting against, what we're constantly losing, are our communities and our aspects of our culture, and our purpose needs to be to maintain that.
Absolutely.
Not to lose that.
And that is my concern, my serious concern. We're losing the gains that we have made over the years, centuries. So we have to be very cognizant of that, very careful, and have discussions with our young people, with our children, about what we have gained, what we gained coming out of Reconstruction. We have made tremendous gains and tremendous contributions to this country. And they are trying, when I say they, I'm talking about this system of racism, trying to take it away from us and give it to everybody else.
And I looked in the 60s, back after they killed Martin Luther King, and all of the rioting that occurred, and the rioting and the looting that occurred here in Chicago, particularly on the West Side, which is where I grew up. And everything that was destroyed stayed that way for decades.
Mm-hmm. For years.
And some of it is still there today. It stayed that way for decades. So when you're going out and you're saying we're going to riot, we're going to loot, what is your purpose for doing this? What do you stand to gain from this? What does the community stand to gain from this? We can't just go out and just do things. There has to be some thought, there has to be a plan. We have to ask, is this going to benefit our people? Is this going to help to sustain our communities, our homes, um, our culture? So that's a question that needs to be asked. The next one is principle is kuumba, which is creativity, which we have a lot of. We're very creative people.
Mm-hmm.
Our music, everybody loves.
Yep.
A lot of our music, a lot of people have taken um, and made it their own. A lot of our music, a lot of people have made money off of it. Our physical talents, our sports players, our entertainers, uh, many of the uh, creations that we have made, the inventions that we have presented. I mean, there's just no question, hands down, about our level of creativity.
Yep.
And then there's been a stifling when they took the music and art programs out of the schools here, trying to stifle our children in those areas, taking art and music, even libraries, even in the vocational programs, taking a lot of that away.
And when we allow, and this goes back again to self determination, when we allow them, and when I say them, I'm talking about those who own the music industry, Jewish. I call them the Jewish mafia. When we allow them to take over hip hop, because hip hop when it first came out was very positive, they're cultural, they're positive, and we allowed these people to inch their way into it, and they took it over, and it has been disastrous. It has been destructive. I mean, totally destructive to us as a people in our community. The, the drugs, the sex, the demeaning of black women, the killings. I mean, you listen to this stuff today. What are they talking about? When you listen to, you got to look, see, sometimes women are listening to this hip hop and every word is a bitch or a whore, bitch this, every word is a curse word. How in the world is that productive? And our babies, the babies are listening to it. They know these rap songs and don't know how to read. And all of that is by demand, by design, rather, because you're messing with our mind. You have our minds. You're controlling our minds. You're controlling what we think. You're controlling everything. All of that is by design. All of that, again, falls under racism, white supremacy. And that is something else we don't want to talk about today. But this is real. You can marry as many white women, as many men, as many any other women you want to marry outside of black women. The system is still here.
That's
And
right.
it is destroying us. And so, going self-determination, we have to take it back. But we've got to realize what it's doing to us. And how do you know what it's doing? We have to have these discussions. This stuff is real. It's going on as as we speak. It is real. So, it's up to us. Self-determination.
And then the last principle is imani,
Faith.
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 So having actually being able to believe in what it is that we're doing, that we're trying to accomplish. But you got to have a vision. You got to have a common goal that people understand. This is the direction that we want to go in. to have something to have some faith on.
And where does your faith lie? Where does your faith lie? I've been saying recently, well, no. We talk about faith, we're talking about, you're talking about religion. And I've just been saying recently, lately, that the religion of Black folks now is the Democratic Party. Because you cannot, if uh, if you have faith and you believe in the religious principles, how can you support a party that's promoting homosexuality? How can you support a party if you believe in the teachings of Jesus, if you believe in God? How can you support a party that's promoting, pushing abortion? How? I mean, I'm just trying to understand that. How can you support a party that's promoting, pushing immigration when we see what it's doing to us as a people? How can you? I mean, it makes no sense to me. My brain does not compute. Does not compute. So where is your faith? What is your religion? Ministers, those of you who say you believe in the teachings of Jesus, you believe in God. I mean, come on. You need to ask yourself these questions. How can I believe in God and support a party that pushes homosexuality, which God speaks against, and abortion, which God speaks against? Because abortion is nothing but depopulation. They're not encouraging other people to not have babies, to not have families. It's only us mostly. When I see these ads about abortion, most of them I see are with Black folks. I don't see Asians in those ads. I don't see Mexicans or Venezuelans or Puerto Ricans in those ads. I see us. So again, these are questions, these are conversations we are going to have.
And I know when you mentioned the ministers, I think we take a lot of things. I think we take too many things literally
I mean, literally.
that we shouldn't. And as a people, you know, we all come into this planet the same way. We all leave here at some point. And so there shouldn't be one that has more power over another. And you ask to me, you should be drawing on your strength and your faith uh, to give you the strength to do what needs to be done, because you're the one that's going to have to make this happen. And I think too many Black people are taking this whole religious thing literally and just saying that, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm gonna let God take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that whole thought process is out of balance with us. Where do you come into play? If you need some money to buy some food tomorrow, um, and you can get some money from the welfare system, you're not going to sit at home and say, well, I'm going to let God manifest this food on my plate. You're going to get yourself up and you're going to walk down there and you're going to catch a cab or Uber or whatever to go do what you need to do to make that happen. And I just think too often we're just looking and sitting back and waiting on God to do everything. And many of our ministers are pushing this train of thought out here with our people.
And it's
And even going to the extent of blaming God, or saying that, God is the reason for it happening.
and it's unrealistic. It's an insult to God, in my opinion. It's unrealistic. God is in you. God is in us.
That's right.
As she just said, God is not going to come down here and give you whatever you need. He puts it in. If you have faith in God, you're going to get up and do what you need to do if you have faith. And Denise, I want to come back to the one Ujima, cooperative economics. I think that one. I think that one. All of them are violated, but that one, cooperative economics. We're not practicing cooperative economics when we go to the Arabs, when we go to the Asians. We have put black hairdressers out of business because we're running to the Arabs to do our hair. The filling stations are all owned by immigrants. I can remember the one right here, 51st and Cornell, was owned by a black man. No longer. The grocery stores, everything in our communities is owned by everybody else but us. That is not practicing cooperative economics. They are making money off us. Black women, the wig industry is a $1 billion industry. The nail industry is a $1 billion nail industry. They've got Asian nail shops in every community in the city of Chicago, black community. The wig shops throughout the black community. And you wonder,
and they have become extremely wealthy.
Wealthy.
They have created generational wealth.
Generational wealth. The Arabs, the Palestinians, the Asians. And now we're hiring all the Mexicans to do the carpentry work or the painting or plumbing or what have you. Why are we not asking the question, why are these trades not in our schools so our young people can continue to go in that direction? That's by design. And then you want to condemn our young people. You know, we have problems, but they have problems too. They have problems too. They kick black women out of these wig shops and you still go right back in there. The nail shop, they're disrespecting you in every conceivable way, but you go back in there and you find a reason to not go to a black nail shop, a black hairdresser. I mean, these people are making billions and billions and billions of dollars off us. Does that not bother you? Does that not bother us? What kind of future will our children have? We say we love our children. How are you loving our children when you put black businesses out of business? Grocery stores own everything. Everything in our communities is owned by everybody but us. I mean, how can we be satisfied with that?
And for our businesses, if we can't get the resources that is needed from banks, this is where cooperative economics comes into play, where people come together and pool their resources together with another business owner or with other people, family members, and what have you, to help you to get this business going, to keep this business afloat.
And again, this is why it's so important to know history, because we did it. We did it. It took place. We did it. And we had businesses throughout the black community.
Especially and we have the Southside Community Federal Credit Union right here in Chicago at 5401 South Wentworth. And they have multiple products, different types of loans, personal loans, car loans, micro business loans, loans in lieu of those very high interest payday loans that are out here that have ruined people because of the extremely high interest rates. And this is a banking institution that you can go into that cares something about you, that you can sit down and have an honest conversation with about finances, about maybe what's the best way to proceed with this.
And so, how committed are you to your race. How committed? I will I do not do every just about I would say 99% of the people that I do business with are black. I may have to wait a while before I can find one, but ultimately I do find them. So I don't want people telling me I can't find them. Oh yes, you can. You may have to. It's sacrificing. It's about sacrificing in order for us to be where we need to be as a people.
That's right.
Sacrifices were made by our ancestors for us to get where we are today. We just want everything to be so convenient. Doesn't work that way. How committed are you to your race, to the future of our children? So, and I guess I can close by saying,
I want to go over to before we close out here, because we have gone quite a bit over
okay,
time.
mhm,
Um, but in terms of these seven principles, for many of you who have not participated in Kwanzaa, I wanted to show you the items of Kwanzaa that some people have in their homes. If you wanted to set up a Kwanzaa table, then this is a sample of a Kanara, which I purchased from the Underground Bookstore, Brother Yoel, on East 87th Street. And this is the Kanara. And this is where the seven candles are placed. And the black candle in the center represents black people. The green candles represent the land. And the red candles represent the blood
that
that
was
our people have
shared.
shed
Mhm,
over the years for our freedom, for the rights that you have today,
mhm.
for the level of lifestyles that you're able to partake in today, for many of the freedoms that you have today. Our people have fought
Absolutely.
and lost their lives. And this is the Kanara. And here the Kanara sits on a mat, which is called an MKK. And there are different kinds of mats, but your mat represents your foundation. Everything has to have a foundation to sit on. And so when you're setting up your table and you see the Kanara and you see the mats, that's what you have, that's what they represent. And this is the unity cup. And these are just the basic items that you would purchase or have. And people, you don't have to exactly adhere to these. You can create your own, because it's really about the principles that's important. It's about the family coming together that's important. And then some people go to the extent of having items of there were many Africans who came over here on slave ships and brought seeds from their homes and brought foods with them. The ginger is one of the foods that was brought. The sweet potato, the watermelon. There were a number of fruits and vegetables that were brought here from Africa by the slaves that were passed on. You read stories of Black people who have many slaves pass just small items on to different family members, trying to hold on to their culture. And so during this season of this year, uh, there are many Kwanzaa celebrations. Malcolm X is going to be hosting Kwanzaa all 7 days. And hopefully you can participate or visit. But if not, then you do what you can or would desire to do within your own home, within your own community of people. But at the end of the day, it's about these principles and other principles, anything that is going to help us unify. That's what's going to be important. And then lastly, I want to announce the winner of our book giveaway for this month, and that's Pamela Lee Robertson. Pamela Lee, you have won the book Assata Shakur by Assata Shakur. I will be contacting you, and we will purchase the book and send this book to you. This is a recount of Assata Shakur's experiences that led her to a life of activism. And a lot of people out here call themselves community activists. But there's a lot, that's a big word, because everybody is active to a certain extent. But she was totally committed as far as her activism. And which, so they talk about her strengths, she talks about her weaknesses, and ultimately her demise. And so you will receive a copy of this book. All we ask is that you read the book and you share this information, because that's how important we feel reading is. So we want you to support our bookstores, our Black bookstores here in Chicago. We want you to support the Southside Community Federal Credit Union. And you can also go to our website here at rrgbc.org, where you can donate to help us with the work that we're doing as we bring these podcasts every week. Nothing is free. Anytime somebody tells you that you're getting something free, and we get it all the time, nothing is free. So if you like what we're doing here and you would like to support Repair, Restore, and Grow Black Communities, you can go to rrgbc.org and subscribe as well as donate. And if you subscribe, then you become eligible for our book giveaway. So that was our message for today. We did go over, but obviously this was a very important message.
Just remember, words have meaning. Culture means a way of life. And if we are to survive, we must practice these principles every day. Every day. So I would strongly suggest have these conversations with your family, have these conversations with your children. And I pray that going into 2026, we can revive Kwanzaa to the point of where it used to be, because it was very popular in the city at one time. A lot of fun. I mean, it was a lot of activities. Absolutely. So it's up to us, self-determination. It's up to us to keep it alive. So I want to thank you all for listening to us tonight. Hopefully you learned from what we've said, and just think about self-determination. It's up to us. And good night.
And support Black businesses.
Support Black businesses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Good night.
Good night.